in Major League Baseball is under contract through 2025. There was concern about Roberts' future. The Dodgers failed 2 years in a row to reach the National League Championship Series after winning 100 games in the regular season. The Dodgers are also 3-10 in their last 13 postseason games. 5 NFL teams starting a black quarterback have a combined 20-8 record. That's 71%. At the top of the list is Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes and Philadelphia's Jalen Hurts. Both are 5-1. Dallas is 4-2 with Dak Prescott. Seattle is 3-2 with Geno Smith. Cleveland is also 3-2 with Deshaun Watson and P.J. Walker. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the good. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley Show in podcast form at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today in our second hour.
Just did a show the other night as a warm-up in Ricelip, you know, and people coming up to me after the show, oh my God, you were so funny, and you smell so good, Febreze. No, it's finesse. Oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, dog, you was funny as hell. Thanks, bro. So when you gonna perform again, Fantasia? Finesse, dog. Well, that's what I say. You said Fantasia. That's what you said. Oh, my bad. Well, do your thing, fitness. Whatever, dude. Whatever.
SNL alum, comedian, actor, podcaster, and more, Finesse Mitchell joins us today live in studio in hour 2. We're going to laugh on today with Finesse when he comes in the second hour of today's program. In our third hour, Sly Stone sounds good. It's hard to step on Sly, but the show must go on, as they say. It is hard to deny the influence that Sly and the family Stone have had on countless music artists over the decades. Sly Stone's memoir has finally been released, and the co-writer Ben Greenman joins us today in Hour 3. Going to be a great conversation about the musical stylings and influence of one Sly Stone. A lot of great music in our third hour today. But in this first hour, today, two more conversations, starting with this.
Justice must be done. But I caution this: while you feel that rage, don't be consumed by it. After 9/11, we were enraged in the United States. While we sought justice and got justice, we also made mistakes. I'm the first U.S. president to visit Israel in time of war. I've made wartime decisions. I know the choices are never clear or easy for the leadership. There's always cost, but it requires being deliberate. It requires asking very hard questions. It requires clarity about the objectives and an honest assessment about whether the path you're on will achieve those objectives. The vast majority of Palestinians are not Hamas. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas uses innocent families in Gaza as human shields, putting their command centers, their weapons, their communications tunnels in residential areas. Palestinian people are suffering greatly as well. We mourn the loss of innocent Palestinian lives like the entire world. I was outraged and saddened by the enormous loss of life yesterday in the hospital in Gaza. Based on the information we've seen to date, it appears the result of an errant rocket fired by a terrorist group in Gaza. The United States unequivocally stands for the protection of civilian life during conflict, and I truly grieve for the families who were killed or wounded by this tragedy. The people of Gaza need food, water, medicine, shelter. Today I asked the Israeli cabinet, who I met with for some time this morning, to agree to the delivery of life-saving humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza, based on the understanding that there will be inspections and that the aid should go to civilians, not to Hamas. Israel agreed the humanitarian assistance can begin to move from Egypt to Gaza.
Joe Biden is in Israel right now as the Israel-Hamas war continues to rage on. Nihad Awad is the executive director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations and joins us right now to offer his insights and reflections. Nihad, it's been far too long, my friend. Good to hear your voice again. How are you today?
Good, Tavis. How are you doing? I haven't heard your voice for some time.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's good to hear your voice. And I am well, thank you. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate, even with all that's happening around the world. And I'm always delighted to be in dialogue with you. Let me just start our conversation with getting a quick response to this, and then we'll move forward. As I said, the president, the world knows, the president is on the ground in Israel even as we speak. Just give me your initial thoughts on his agreeing to accept Bibi Netanyahu's invitation to go to Israel, which makes him the first president of this country ever to go to Israel in wartime.
Yeah, I think it's important for the president to visit the region and to open both his eyes, not to look at the world with one eye and not to listen only to one side. We all know that every story has two sides. Unfortunately, probably Tavis, you know, and maybe some of your listeners may or may not know, I'm a Palestinian myself. Mm-hmm. I was born and raised in a refugee camp. The reason I was born and raised in a refugee camp, because my family used to, or let me put it this way, my family was ethnically cleansed in 1948 when foreign individuals and militias came to Palestine at the promise from Britain, who was colonizing our land, Palestine, and offered them a homeland after the Holocaust. So the Palestinians are paying for the guilt of Germany and Europe. We have been ethnically cleansed by force from our land, from our homes, because we're not Jewish, because we're Palestinians, the indigenous inhabitants of the land. Many of us were displaced within Palestine, like my family was displaced and ended up as refugees in Jordan. Ever since the Israeli government and its illegal settlers, who many of them come from Los Angeles, from New York, from Texas, from all over European and American cities, who have dual citizenships, who leave their comforts in the U.S. to go and claim the lands and farms and houses of Palestinians like my family.
Let me jump in right there, Nihad. When we come forward, we'll finish hearing that story, which is essentially your backstory, which informs the work you do today, and I want the audience to hear that. We hear about the backstory of your journey, and then get back to that question about President Biden's visit to Israel, what you make of that. And a great deal more to talk about. This war continues to rage. The ground offensive that Israel has promised has been placed on hold while Joe Biden visits their country, but when he leaves, as we all know, all hell's going to break loose. Bibi Netanyahu has promised to crush and destroy Hamas. A great deal to talk about when we come forward with Nihad Awad, Executive Director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations, who you're listening to right now on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfected like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. IQ. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Dilly, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range on a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection consistent with SCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
What's up? I'm Danelle Riley, FAMU alumni and creator of the HBCU Culture Shop. I am so proud of my new partnership with Black Beyond Measure and Target. They help me elevate community pride with my HBCU designs and continue to support Black creators and entrepreneurs with Target HBCU challenges, scholarship programs, and campus collaborations. Let's come together this homecoming season and beyond. Shop my brand and discover other Black-owned products at target.com/blackbeyondmeasure.
Happy birthday, Metro K-Line. Whether traveling for business or pleasure, it's time you made today a K-Line day. The K-Line can connect you with fun, food, friends, and family from Crenshaw to Inglewood in one safe, clean, comfortable ride. Take the K-Line today and experience the diversity that makes LA such a great place to live, work, and play. Make it a K-Line day. Go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
Our guest is Nihad Awad. He's Executive Director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We invited him on this program today because we wanted to hear the other side. You heard Nihad say moments ago, speaking of the president being in Israel today, that he wants the president to visit the region. It's important to do so, he said, but he should do so with both eyes open and not just look at one side, but look at the other side. There's no way, Nihad, that the president would visit Gaza while on this trip. He's expressly there to show our support for Israel. So he's not going to step on the other side and open that eye, as it were, and visit Gaza and see what's happening in that region, in that part of the world. That's not going to happen. But you were telling us a moment ago. A bit of your backstory and how it informs the work that you do. I wonder if you can finish that backstory, and then we'll jump to some other issues I want to cover while I've got you this hour.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just became refugees, and I as a Palestinian, I cannot go to Palestine. I cannot go to our home because it was destroyed. It was claimed by maybe an American Jewish settler, or we don't know what happened because I'm not Jewish. However, if you're Jewish, you can go there and take my land. That's really the apartheid system that our people are living in. So if President Biden cannot go to Gaza, he should also maybe go to Ramallah and visit a refugee camp. Palestinians being refugees in their own land, living like ghettos, living under dual judicial system, one for Jewish people and one for Palestinians. Both Christians and Muslims are treated as second-class citizens. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and Israel's most prominent human rights organization said that Israel is an apartheid state. So now, to us Americans and to the president, why is he supporting the occupier over the occupied? Isn't he supporting now the Ukrainians because they're occupied by foreign invading forces, namely the Russians? We have two occupations, we have two occupiers. Why the United States government has been supporting the Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands and hypocritically are supporting the Ukrainians? So the two are the same. What does it tell me is the president, unfortunately, is using Israel as a project. In 1996, when he was a U.S. senator, he said if there was no Israel, we have to invent an Israel. So to him, he really doesn't care deeply about the Israelis or the Palestinians. He cares about having a hegemony, a U.S. almost colony there to destabilize the region. And that's not only un-American, it is undemocratic. We should be done with this colonization, era and mentality. And finally, I would say on this point, Tavis, I have been watching CNN, MSNBC. I have appeared on all these networks. These networks tell you now that the victims are the victimizers. And this is what Malcolm X told us decades ago, that watch out for the press. They give you the impression that the victimizer is the victim and the victim is the victimizer. And that's what's taken place. Unfortunately, our foreign policy when it comes to the issue of the Palestinians is lopsided, one-sided. It destabilizes the region. It's not good for America. It's not for good all of us, for us. And it flies in our face when we claim that we believe in human rights and equality and dignity for all. So now to Gaza. Gaza is an open-air prison, the largest open-air prison in the world. I did not say that. Jimmy Carter said that. I did not say that. Nelson Mandela and other people defended the Palestinians' right to defend themselves. Gaza has been like a pressure cooker. It exploded because 2.3 million people do not have access to clean water. They do not have access to their own sea. They cannot fish. They cannot do trade. They cannot travel. Even if they're sick, they cannot seek treatment outside the Gaza Strip. They're surrounded by illegal settlements. They're at the mercy of the Israeli army. Israel bombards hospitals, schools, UN schools every 2 years, and they kill thousands of people. This time, the Palestinian resistance took them by surprise, and that's the difference.
Let me ask you this. I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted you to get your formulation out, and you've done so, and quite eloquently. So let me just ask a few questions now. I want to go back a few minutes ago when I made the point that there's no way that Joe Biden on this trip goes to both Israel and the Gaza Strip. I recall I've been to Israel a few times now, and I recall on my very first trip, I was with an Israeli delegation. And a trip to Gaza obviously was not on our itinerary. And one of my colleagues on that trip with me and I decided that we needed to see the other side. And so one day we literally, during our free time, just snuck away from the group and went to the other side. I did not want to go to the region and not see the other side. So it wasn't on our agenda as part of this this Israeli delegation. But I made it my business to go to the other side because I wanted to see. I raised that because I'm not naive in saying this. I understand why the president is in the region today to go to Israel. You said very clearly that he ought to visit the region. Let me just ask this question. And again, this is not out of naivete. Since the president and every president continues, one, to talk about a two-state solution, that always comes out of their mouth, what we need is a two-state solution. Number two, you heard us play audio of the president a moment ago on the ground in Israel saying he met with the Israeli cabinet and has really pressed them on humanitarian aid. That's what he's pressing, humanitarian aid for the civilians in Gaza. So here's my question. If you're constantly talking about a two-state solution and you really care about this humanitarian crisis, why would you not? Why could you not visit a refugee camp on the other side while you're there? If he did that, what would happen? That's my question, Nihad.
If he did, and I hope he will see that the Palestinian people have been treated as second-class citizens in their own home, like African Americans. And look, my brother, I am a student of the civil rights movement. I know how second-class citizens means, how it feels. We know that. You and I know it. Everyone knows it. So Palestinians need not the mercy of people. They need to be seen as equal human beings in their own homeland. And they should not be the subject of one-sided, lopsided U.S. foreign policy that has been favoring the Israeli occupation for strategic reasons. What about humanity? How come the United States president, with the presence of the CIA, national security, the U.S. embassy, the State Department, how he would parrot and repeat Israel's lies about Palestinians beheading 40 babies? How come the president of the United States, in his first reaction, tells the entire world and dehumanizes the Palestinians? And even now, he is parroting and repeating what Netanyahu is telling him, that the hospital was bombed by the Palestinians. I mean, there is no sane person who can believe this. The Palestinians do not have any weapon of mass destruction to the magnitude of killing 500 people in one shot. We cannot be fooled. Why is the president? We know that he loves Israel. That's his personal feeling. But as the president of the United States, the president of all Americans, he should respect America's integrity. He is spending billions of dollars on a foreign occupation and depriving Americans from health care, from education, from protection. Why are we spending and overspending ourselves and our taxpayers' dollars on a foreign occupation, which always comes back to hunt us? What's the secret? Why aren't we helping the people who need us? Why are we helping and empowering another occupation, another apartheid system in 2023? We're not in the 50s or 60s.
Let me ask you this question. To your point about the president loving Israel, and that's his personal prerogative, the media has made a point of sharing with us that when he arrived in Israel, he didn't just shake Bibi Netanyahu's hand. When most world leaders meet, we see these photo ops all the time. When they meet, they shake each other's hands and they stare at the cameras. They hold the handshake for 2 or 3 minutes, and the cameras just light up to get a photo op of the handshake. When he landed in Israel today, he didn't just shake Bibi Netanyahu's hand, he embraced him with a big hug. What does that visual say to the world?
That we are in deep trouble as America. He's shaking hand of and hugging a traitor of his people, a war criminal, someone who deceived the United States government. There are leaked videos, Netanyahu bragging about misleading the U.S. government, and he's been misleading Joe Biden.
Did you just?
I'm sorry,
Nihad, did you just call Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, a war criminal?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, no doubt. I mean, someone who's been killing thousands of children and entire families. Tavis, there are 500 Palestinian families have been wiped out from the civil registry. Do you know? Do you know what does that mean? There is no there is no future for these families. He wiped them out. He's cutting water, electricity. According to international law, these are war crimes. According to international law, any occupied people should be under the protection of the occupier, not at the mercy of the occupier. So Israel is basically committing major war crimes every day, and Benjamin Netanyahu should not be hugged. He should be handcuffed.
There are those who've gone even farther than that. There are those who've called him a war criminal. You are one of them, obviously. You didn't hold your tongue in that regard. There are others who've used the G word, genocide, that what is happening right now in Gaza is genocide. Would you go that far?
Watch my Twitter account or X. Not only me. All people who have both sides of the story are unreservedly calling the actions by Israel as actions of genocide. Action of genocide. UN officials, European leaders, human rights organizations, these are not Palestinians. These are just decent human beings who are not afraid to speak truth to power, who are not afraid to take a stand when it is not popular to take a stand. People who do not follow the headlines of Fox News and now, CNN and so on. I quit watching these things, Tavis. I now watch Al Jazeera English. It is for free, and I encourage you and encourage your audience to educate themselves about this issue, because it is done in our name as Americans. Our taxpayers' dollars are used to annihilate the Palestinian people. It is with our green light, unfortunately. But the good news is we still live in a democracy in the United States, and we should call on the White House, on our elected representatives, to stop this madness and this misguided policy in the name of America.
When we come forward, I don't want to ask you this question and have to cut you off in 40 seconds. Let me just tell you where I want to go, Nihad. When we come forward, and we will be waiting with bated breath to hear your response to these questions, I think. Number one, I want to ask you in a moment here, given your indictment of the mainstream media in this country, what you think or what you would say to our audience that they are actually seeing when they're watching CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and the other networks. What exactly are they seeing that you want to put a warning label on? What is the warning label you want them to know, to be aware of when they're watching network news, or I would call it corporate media in this country? I certainly want to ask your thoughts about a ceasefire. There are certain members of Congress who have signed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in this regard. Your thoughts about that, whether you think that's even possible. And thirdly, I am curious as to your thoughts about what happens when Joe Biden leaves. We know he's there now. He's calling for humanitarian aid. As we understand it at the moment, he has no plans whatsoever to visit Palestine, obviously, or even a refugee camp. He is there expressly for the purpose of saying that we stand with Israel. But when Joe Biden gets on Air Force One and he rolls out of Israel, what happens next? That's what I want to hear Nihad Awad's response to. He's executive director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations. He's our guest right now, and we're glad about it on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, That makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden is no longer scheduled to travel to Jordan on Wednesday. Following his trip to Israel, Biden had planned to meet with Arab leaders in Amman. A White House official now saying that after consulting with leaders in Jordan, Biden will postpone traveling to the country. Biden, in a statement, said that he was outraged and deeply saddened by the explosion at a hospital in Gaza Tuesday that killed hundreds. Johns Hopkins University is moving to rename a professorship named after the wife of a slave owner. The university submitted a petition to the Baltimore City Circuit Court to dename the Carolyn Donovan Professorship in English Literature. According to the university, Donovan's husband was Joseph S. Donovan, one of Maryland's largest and most prominent slave traders. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Escape with the best stories of the year on Audible. Hear celebrity memoirs, mysteries, true crime, sci-fi, and more. Ignite your imagination with audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. Dodgers Executive Vice President Andrew Friedman said manager Dave Roberts will return next year for his 9th season. Roberts, one of only 2 black managers in Major League Baseball, is under contract through 2025. There was concern about Roberts' future. The Dodgers failed 2 years in a row to reach the National League Championship Series after winning 100 games in the regular season. The Dodgers are also 3-10 in their last 13 postseason games. 5 NFL teams starting a black quarterback have a combined 20-8 record. That's 71%. At the top of the list is Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes and Philadelphia's Jalen Hurts. Both are 5-1. Dallas is 4-2 with Dak Prescott. Seattle was 3-2 with Geno Smith. Cleveland is also 3-2 with Deshaun Watson and PJ Walker. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare? The new LA Care health plan called LA Care Medicare Plus, HMO DSNP, can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0 premium. LA Care is here to provide Angelenos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost. For $0 premium, you can get full benefits from vision coverage and in-home support services to prescription drug coverage, plus more. Call 855-688-1479. 855-688-1479.
You are now in Big Tobacco's Fantasyland. Welcome. It's a healthier world where they want you to believe that vaping makes quitting cigarettes a breeze. Never mind the evidence that vaping leads to using both. And if you're younger, even better, teens who vape are 3 times likelier to use cigarettes. In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, the deadliest industry is your friend.
Big Tobacco's idea of smoke-free is a dangerous fantasy for us all. See reality at undo.org.
The Green Foundation, key health influencer, empowering our Black communities through action. The Green Foundation advocates for affordable health care, accessibility, and knows the importance of culturally relatable health care. Regardless of income, we believe it is a right for optimum health. The Green Foundation has been at the forefront for 25 years, dedicated solely to promoting prevention through early detection, annual screenings, and nutrition. We know you because we are you. Our hand-holding approach supports you and your family to receive your right to be treated fairly and receiving quality healthcare services. We want you and your family to know COVID-19 was devastating to our families and to our wallet. We can build back better by understanding prevention, wearing your mask, washing your hands, social distancing, and understanding the impact of long COVID. Get the care you deserve. Take advantage of your privileges. Contact us, info@thegreenfoundation.net. info@thegreenfoundation.net.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley in conversation with Nihad Awad, Executive Director and Co-Founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations. He's our guest in this hour. In case you have not been paying attention to the news, Joe Biden in Israel today. He landed and didn't just shake Bibi Netanyahu's hand, gave him a big hug. And that photo has gone around the world, and people are talking about what that hug means. The hug notwithstanding, he met with the Israeli cabinet for quite some time today and pressed them to make sure that humanitarian aid could reach the civilian population in Gaza. There's a bit of breaking news in that regard, Nihad. Since I've been on the air, news has come that the First Minister of Scotland has announced that Scotland is ready to take refugees from Gaza. We know that the Egypt border has been closed, but Scotland now says it is ready to take refugees from Gaza. Unless I'm missing something, that may be the first nation to do so, and if it isn't, you can enlighten me. But what does it mean to you to hear that Scotland is at least one country saying they're ready to take refugees now from Gaza, Nihad?
This is a conspiracy. It's a criminal conspiracy to uproot us from our homeland. I mean, Tavis, this is incredible. Instead of putting pressure on Israel to end its occupation of my homeland, people are uprooting me from my homeland. We don't want to be refugees in any country. We want to be citizens of our own land.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really a criminal conspiracy against the Palestinian people. This is what we call ethnic cleansing.
Mm.
This is very sad. Instead of people and countries putting pressure on the occupier, they are putting pressure on the occupied to leave their home and their homeland to safety instead of removing the danger from them. That's like the worst appeasing to the Israeli genocidal military machine.
Mm-hmm. So that I'm clear, your response to Scotland saying they will take refugees from Gaza is that these countries are appeasing Israel?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'd rather die on our homeland than becoming refugees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd rather die in our homes than being uprooted, like 1948, which we call it a Nakba, the catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
We do not need another Nakba.
Yeah. You remind me of Dr. King. You mentioned King earlier. You mentioned Malcolm earlier. And King, one of the last things to come out of his mouth before he was shot on that balcony in Lorraine Motel. I talked about this in my book, Death of a King.
Mm-hmm.
King said, "I'd rather be dead than be afraid. I'd rather be dead than be afraid." He steps on the balcony, and in fact, they kill him dead. But those are some of the last words. Some of the last words uttered by Dr. King. Let me come back to this point. We were talking earlier about the American media, and I want to allow you an opportunity, Nihad, to give to put your warning label, as it were, on what fellow citizens in this country are seeing when they watch the major networks. Before I do that, though, we just heard in our own news report. I mean, I literally asked you this question before I went to break. During the break here in Los Angeles, we heard across the country, but here in L.A. at least, during our break, we heard a news report, and here's what you heard on the news report. What you basically heard the news reporter say was that the president is not going to Jordan. He's not meeting with Arab leaders as he was scheduled to do so, and that the White House has decided to postpone those meetings. That's what you heard.
No, actually the opposite.
Hold up, exactly.
Yeah.
Hold up, exactly.
Yeah.
That's that. You see where I'm going, right? I want to give this audience a case in point right now. You heard the news.
Yeah.
You heard if you're in Los Angeles, you heard this. If you're around the country, your news may not be our news. But in LA, where I'm sitting right now, this audience just heard the news say, this is Black Information News, BIN no less, saying that the president was postponing his meetings with Arab leaders in Jordan. That is not true. The Arab leaders canceled their meeting with Joe Biden as a protest to what happened in the hospital. So you can give the warning label now, but I just want the audience, to hear in real time an example of the way that news oftentimes is spun versus the reality. Nihad, take it away.
Okay, look, let me address the media. And look, I used to be friendly to the entire media because I almost appeared on all shows in the country, the mainstream national shows, to address Islamophobia, injustice, the whole 9 yards. I will say to the mainstream media a question. What have you done to journalism? You made a mockery of journalism. What happened to you? What happened to critical thinking? What happened to independently verifying the news? I mean, look, Tavis, the mainstream media has been partisan. They will not let any piece of information go unchecked, unchallenged, unvetted, without being debated. When it comes to the issue of Palestine, they just defer to Israel. So they repeated lies, debunked rumors about babies being decapitated. Now they are parroting the Israeli narrative about who bombed the hospital. I mean, I would like to laugh, but I'm really crying inside my heart. What happened to journalism? What have you done to the truth? The mainstream media has betrayed Americans. They have betrayed Americans. And obviously, we always teach our trainees, don't insult the media. But in this time, I need to address the media. You have failed journalism. You have failed us. You have failed the innocent people who need your critical thinking to hold elected officials accountable. You are just becoming part of the problem. You are not a solution. I'm sorry to say that, but I think we have to look for alternative sources of information, especially on social media. I canceled my TV subscription. I'm always on the internet. I hear both sides. Even I've been hearing the Israeli side, by the way, and I sympathize with the civilian casualties. And my heart goes out to the civilian casualties in this crisis, as I feel, and my heart goes to our people who are, the majority of them are innocent, who are being bombed and shelled to pieces, unfortunately.
Yeah. So here's where I want to go when we come forward. Again, I hate cutting Nihad off, so I'm watching this clock, and I know with the few seconds I have now, it wouldn't be fair to ask him these questions. But when we come forward, I want to ask him two things. One, as I said moments ago, I want to get his take on those who are calling for a ceasefire and whether or not he thinks that is the immediate answer and whether or not he thinks that's possible in the near term, or whether that's not even an issue on the table until after this ground offensive takes place. Joe Biden is going to get on Air Force One. He's going to leave. And when he leaves, the suspension of the on-the-ground war that Israel has promised in an effort to crush and destroy, those are Bibi Netanyahu's words, to crush and destroy Gaza and Hamas, that I assume will take place. So I don't think a ceasefire is even possible until after they have their say on this ground offensive. That's my assessment. I'll see what Nihad Awad has to say about it. So that Joe Biden being there is it's a placeholder. But the minute he leaves, as I said earlier, all hell's going to break loose. I want to get his take on the ceasefire. And then there are a few other things I want to get to. I'll hold that until we come forward. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Dom Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life. To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
So much breaking news today. We're talking about Israel, Hamas, but we also know that here at home we have some drama in the haunted house. That is the House of U.S. Representatives. I call it the haunted house. Nothing scarier than Jim Jordan potentially becoming the Speaker of the House. And CNN is reporting that in a second round of voting, it appears once again that Jim Jordan does not. I feel like Maury Povich. You are not the father. Jim Jordan does not appear to have the votes in a second round of voting to be elected Speaker of the House. For 2 weeks, that seat has been vacant now after they yanked Kevin McCarthy out. Jim Jordan trying his best to become the Speaker of the House, but in a second round of voting, it appears at the moment, according to CNN, speaking of mainstream media, that Jim Jordan does not have the votes to become Speaker. More on that as it develops. It took Kevin McCarthy, you recall, 15 votes to be elected Speaker. We'll see what happens to Jim Jordan if he ever gets there, whether they go in a different direction. But at the moment, Jim Jordan appears to not have the votes in a second round of voting to be elected Speaker of the U.S. House. There's that. Now, back to Israel and Hamas. Our guest is Nihad Awad, Executive Director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations. The ceasefire, Nihad, there are those in Congress, speaking of the House, who called on a ceasefire and asked our president to insist on an immediate ceasefire. He has not done that. As a matter of fact, there was a memo you saw, Nihad, that leaked out of the State Department that the Washington Post published about 48 hours ago that said the exact opposite, that they've been told in the State Department to not use the phrase ceasefire. Do not say we want to see an end to the bloodletting. They've been told specifically what not to say, because that is not the frame that the U.S. is in right now. We're not in a frame of ceasefire. We're not in a frame of saying we want the bloodletting to stop. That is not what they're supposed to say. That memo leaked out. I thought that was pretty damning in and of itself. But your thoughts quickly, Nihad, about a ceasefire.
Of course, we have to look, no war is good for anybody. So we have to call for ceasefire. And I think the White House and the Congress have not heard enough from the American public to stop this madness, to stop the bloodshed. And the fact that the State Department has been pressuring its people not to call for a ceasefire and let so many civilians die is really corrupt. This is done, Tavis, in the name of America, with our tax dollars. Unfortunately, with the green light of our government, it's done in our name. And if we believe that we oppose this madness, we have to call the White House and our elected representatives to stop this killing of civilians. The majority of them are being bombed and killed and shredded to pieces.
Yeah.
This is like corrupt. This
Yeah.
is corrupt government, corrupt policy, corrupt mentality.
Yep. Corrupt is a good word. I was trying to think of another word to go along with that. But when I want the audience just to marinate on this just for a second. What this memo again says, that leaked out of the State Department, thanks to the Washington Post, we saw it. They were staying on message. We are not using the phrase ceasefire. We are not going to say things like we want the bloodletting to stop. Like, what does that mean? That our State Department has a memo circulating around saying that we are not calling for a ceasefire. We're not using the term ceasefire. Just think about that, and we'll come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
It's a different world at Pasadena City College. Come find out why during PCC's On the Yard HBCU Caravan, happening Tuesday, October 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. on the Colorado Boulevard campus of Pasadena City College. Over 20 historically black colleges and universities will be on campus, and some colleges will be offering on-the-spot admissions. You heard that right, on the spot. All you need to do is bring your unofficial transcripts. So come to PCC's On the Yard HBCU Caravan for the opportunity to win scholarships and prizes, enjoy some mouth-watering DD's Chicken Cat Shack, and tasty burgers from Fat Boys for free. It's all happening on Tuesday, October 24th. The HBCU Caravan is proudly presented by PCC's Transfer Center, Office of Inclusion, Equity, Diversity, and Justice, and the California Community Colleges, Chancellor's Historically Black Colleges, and Universities Initiative. For more information, visit pasadena.edu/HBCU or call 626-585-7287.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, in downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Nihad Awad, more breaking news. I got just 5 minutes left with you. Let me do this right quick. I quote from the New York Times. While we continue to collect information, our current assessment based on analysis of overhead imagery intercepts and open source information is that Israel is not responsible for the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday, said Adrienne Watson, a spokeswoman for the National Security Council. You had an indictment of the mainstream news media moments ago, but this information comes from the National Security Council. Your thoughts?
Oh, well, it's too early. Look at Israel's crimes. So far, Israel has killed more than 3,500 people, injured 13,000 people, mainly men, women, and children. Entire families have been wiped out. This is like we're living now in the midst of the war on Gaza. I think it's too early to give Israel an excuse and exit from this responsibility. We have seen it times and again. Remember the lies that our government, including the National Security Council, was involved in deceiving the public and the world to enter and invade Iraq. Nobody raised their finger, including the media. The media was just now conveying this information to you and me. Many years ago, our country, national security, CIA, the government, its all entirety, lied to us and to the world about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction. And they went and they destroyed Iraq. They killed millions of people. They sent our daughters and sons, to kill people and got killed. They spent billions of dollars on this because of the corruption of our government. Yep. So it's too early to give Israel a pass while it's committing atrocities and genocide against the entire people of Gaza.
More breaking news here, and then a final question for Nihad. What a busy day. It's official. Jim Jordan has gone down a second time in voting for Speaker of the House, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse. The first time around on this program yesterday, we reported he had 212 votes. In this second round, he had 197. He had 212. Let me do this. I'm sorry. Let me get these numbers right here. He had 199 early on, and these numbers show him at 197. So his numbers are getting worse, not getting better, is the takeaway. He's getting fewer votes, not a greater number of votes in the second round of voting. I don't know what that portends, but his numbers are clearly going in the wrong direction. I digress on that for now. We'll continue covering that. I got 90 seconds left, Nihad. Here's my extra question. Whether or not you believe that, broadly speaking, the Israeli people believe that the life of a Palestinian baby has the same worth as the life of an Israeli baby? And do you believe, broadly speaking, that Palestinians believe that the life of an Israeli baby has the same value as the life of a Palestinian baby?
Definitely, there are good people in the Israeli community who are against the corrupt leader Netanyahu, who's using his own troubles to distract his people, and now they're calling for him to be arrested, to be dismissed, and control the situation with Gaza. They believe in peace. And we, the Palestinians, are the most in need of peace, and we believe in our brothers and sisters' humanity, the Israeli people and Jewish people who coexisted with us for centuries until the political Zionist movement came, politicized the situation, and started to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians as we see today.
Yeah.
Finally, I would say Biden is adding fuel to the fire. He is complicit with these war crimes, and he is not helping. He is not showing statesmanship to put an end to the violence and stabilize the region. He is letting the region on fire and coming back. He's betraying all of us as Americans, as voters. We trusted him, and I think we made the wrong mistake.
You will never hear Nihad Awad hold his tongue about his truth-telling, and I'm always honored to be in dialogue with him. He's executive director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations, and I can also assure you you'll never hear anybody discussing this and quote both Malcolm and Martin in the same conversation. Nihad, good to have you on, my friend. All the best to you. We'll talk again.
Thank you.
All right, take care now.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
It's a tough first hour. In our second hour, we'll get some laughs on with Finesse Mitchell, SNL alum. In our third hour, we're going to get our music on and talk about the legacy and the memoir of one Sly Stone. 2 great hours in front of us. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden is no longer